there! Welcome to episode 14 of Debra Quilts Lots and Knits Bits. I'm Debra McCracken and I quilt a lot and I knit a little bit. So thank you for joining me. Today is Saturday, March 28th of 2020. I'm coming to you from beautiful sunny Penticton, British Columbia. And it's sunny, but it is a little chilly out there, and that's okay because I'm probably not going out. Are you? So we're all in this social distancing, self-isolation, quarantine situation, and you know, I keep seeing things like quilters, this is what we've been training for, and knitters, yay. And yeah, to be truthful, it's kind of my everyday life. I don't go out much. I spend a lot of time working by myself in my studio, which is in the basement of my house, and I'm okay with that. I do enjoy it. I have my books on tape, or audiobooks from the library that I listen to, and once in a while a quilter comes and picks up their quilt. We have it laid out on the bed so they get to see it all at once, and they go, oh, ah, ooh, ah, and I usually get a big hug. That's what I'm missing. I'm missing my little, pick up hugs. And because we're on the basket system now, so when people are bringing quilts or picking up quilts, I put a little laundry basket and a chair out in the stairwell, and they pick up or drop off in the basket, and I go out right away and bring it in, and that's what we got to do for right now, right? So it won't last forever. It won't take too much longer, I'm sure. So we'll just do whatever we can, and we'll go with it. So another thing that got dropped off in the basket, have a friend, Jane, and she passed my name along to a lady that works with a group of doctors, and they needed some gowns sewn. And I'm not sure who it's for, and I'm not sure what the gowns are for, but I rallied the troops. I had an overwhelming response for people who wanted to help, and lots of people who had who were upset because they couldn't help. But you know what? It's all right. It was just, when I got the call, it's like, oh my gosh, I can do something. So anyway, on Thursday, a nice lady dropped off in the basket a bunch of pre-cut gowns, and Jane and Jackie and Noni and Diana picked up from the basket, and I'm having everybody's dropping off into the basket. Noni's already dropped hers off, and others are dropping off later on today, and the lady's coming on a Sunday, so that gives you an idea of how urgent these things are, to pick them up tomorrow. So out of the basket. So, hey, we've been able to do something. I have a whole list of names of others that if we get more, they want to help out. And many people are wanting to make face masks, and I don't know enough about them to give an informed instruction or help or anything like that. I've seen 100 patterns, and I looked at probably 3 or 4 different ones, and they're all different. They all ask for different things and stuff. So Brandy, the Quilter on Fire, who lives in Summerland, she has done a video, and she's done some research, and she's talked to the hospitals and the nursing homes and that kind of stuff to find out what they need. So I'll put a link to her video down below. So please just watch that, because like I say, I'm not well informed enough to have any kind, I can't speak on that subject at all. So, if the need comes when our healthcare workers absolutely have to have 100 of them tomorrow, I'll kick in high gear and whip out the stuff and get going on them. But they're always, it doesn't hurt to have as much protection as they give you. So take a look at that, and if you want to sew some up for your friends and your family, and be on the ready to go if the need arises. So, other than that, I've been staying home because I can't go to quilt retreat. We were all ready to go to our annual retreat at Luther Haven on Lake Coeur d'Alene. And then 3-4 weeks ago, when they asked us to, refrain from crossing the border, we had to cancel on that. So, well, gee. And so Brenda got on the horn and found us a retreat about 2 or 3 hours away in Canada. And then a few days later, they asked us to not gather in big groups. And so we canceled that. And then we thought, well, Ray's friend has this house in Naramata that's empty at this point. We thought, well, maybe if 3 or 4 of us could get together there, and so for a few days, and we were smart enough to cancel that. So now I'm home. I'm not spending my days getting prepped. I'm not away for a week, and I'm not needing 3 or 4 days of recovery time when I get home. So I have just been working through my work quilts, and I'm so far, I think I'm just ahead of where I thought I'd be at this point. So, if you're at home working on stuff and digging things out of the closet and that kind of thing, you want to get it finished, by all means, drop it in the basket, and we'll get to it probably sooner than we would have had everything been normal. The other normal. This is the new normal. Anyway, so the thing that I would be working on and that I put away from retreat 2 years ago because I got frustrated, something happened, and I didn't have enough things cut or something, and so I dug it out last weekend because I would have been digging it out to get prepped. Anyway, it's this one. It's the Be Colorful Brilliant Beauties of Joy. So 2 years ago, we were going to Luther Haven, and staff puts out this challenge. Hey, let's all work on paper piece quilts this week at retreat. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I pulled that out, got all prepped, and TJ brought hers, and Ray had one, I think. And anyway, Steph brought hers, but she didn't even bring it out. So I got started on it. I made a mistake. And when I dug it out, I figured out what that mistake was. So last Saturday, the 21st, was International Quilting Day. So I had my quilts all hung on the railing outside. It was a beautiful morning. It was warm. I took out my pieces and I ripped probably 16, no, it was probably about 30 pieces back off of paper piecing. So you have to try not to rip the paper, but just the stitches. And so I've got that done. I got those arcs almost done. I probably am 85% finished that set of arcs, and they're really big ones. And so when I finish those, I'm going to start on the ribbons that go around the outside edge. And then I have to decide on what I'm going to use for background fabric. So once I do that, then it'll probably take me 3 or 4 days to get the background all put together after I get the checkerboard border done. And that's kind of going to be a fun thing. And say I have to decide on background before I can do that checkerboard. So, I'm going to get to the point where I have to make a decision, and then I'll make a decision. I'm talking with Frank last night, and I was looking at a quilt that I made back in Calgary in 2000. I had been quilting a long time, but I had been self-taught out of books and that kind of thing. In 2000, I went to Freckles Quilt Shop and took a beginner class. Well, there's a rotary cutter and ruler and all that stuff. I didn't know about those. So anyway, then I got together with a girl that I worked with, Maureen, and her mother-in-law, Bev, who was a fantastic quilter, both of them amazing quilters. And we formed a group, and we met every Monday night at the Forceland Senior Center. Everybody brought their sewing machines. I think there was at least 15, if not 20 ladies, and we all worked on these magic tile quilts. Well, at that point, I was buying fabric for each quilt. I didn't really have too much of a stash. And you know, that quilt is beautiful. The colors are all nice and they all go together well, and there's lots of contrast and lots of matching. Like, it's really a well put together quilt. And lately I'm just trying to use up stuff out of my stash, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, this goes together okay, but we'll see what it looks like when it gets done. So, you know, I'm starting to think that maybe it might be time to slow down a little bit and put more emphasis on putting things together. Like, you know, they do turn out, and you know, I see so many quilts every week, every month, that are beautiful, and then I look at mine and go, well, you know, that could have been better, or whatever. We're all our own worst critics. However, that being said, you know, right now we can't really, well, we can go shopping. Our local quilt shop, Poppin's Quilt Parlor, is open. Their hours are reduced from 10 to 4. And, you know, when you go in, they ask you not to be touching too many things, and to stay 6 feet away from each other, and they're not having too many people in the store at any one time, and that kind of thing. They're doing their very best to keep us safe. And if you're still not comfortable with that, you can phone and say, I need this, or I'm looking for something like this, and they'll send you some pictures. They either text you or email you, and you can shop that way. And they're happy to bundle it up for you and hand it to you on the curb, or, you know, you can pop into the store for a minute, pick it up. Whatever you're comfortable with, they'll even mail it out to you, I'm sure. So many of the quilt shops that I've got on my Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing, and your yarn shops, are doing the same thing. They may not be open to the public. They might be open by appointment. They might be doing deliveries. They might be, I think even Kathy said that they had a few little video conference shopping kind of things going on. So, you know, call. If you have to leave a message, they'll get the message eventually. They're not, you know, they're not going to leave and not get their messages for 6 weeks. Call, check, see what they're doing. They're more than happy to help out, more than happy to make appointments for you, and, you know, support those local businesses so that they will be there when this is all done. So that being said, you know, we're gonna walk down and pick up our takeout from the Smuggler Smokehouse, which is our every second Friday. We usually go down there for dinner. Take a walk down, get our brisket dinner, and so we'll bring it home. And, you know, it won't be the same as sitting there chatting with Josh and Justin, but it's okay. We'll have some good food and we'll enjoy it. So, you know, many restaurants are doing just takeout and pick up and that kind of stuff. So, and lots of them are doing their own delivery now, and many are still on Skip the Dishes. So, you know, check it out. You know, be supportive if you can. So the other things that I've been working on while we're here, I have a little helper who comes down to my sewing room in the afternoons and listens to my book with me. And while I've been quilting, he's been sorting out my scraps into different colors, which is super helpful. And it's funny, he said, how many scraps do you have? I'm like, how long have you been collecting these? And it's quite a thing. So anyway, you know, there's going to be some scrappy quilts coming our way very soon, because now I can just pull a pile of blues out and make some of Pat Sloan's traffic jam blocks, or the wedge blocks we made for the Modern Quilt Guild, or a trail mix quilt that's in blues or reds or pinks or pink and red or whatever. So it's all good. And, you know, those scraps have been sitting for years and not sorted out like that. So now. So, another thing I did is I put a new Steady Betty surface on my big ironing board. a few years back when I had the store and I was making an order, staff said to me, "Oh, can you get me some Betty bands?" And I'm like, "Sure, what are Betty bands?" And it turns out that Betty bands are these foam pieces that go around this part of your hand. So when you're free motion quilting, that it's got some grip to it. So you can make your, you can hold on to your quilt top and move it around, and your fingers are still free to thread your needle and cut and do whatever you need to do. So I started looking around, and they had these ironing board surfaces, and my ironing board was kind of looking a little ratty, so I thought, well, you know, let's try that. Well, it's foamy, and it's pretty thick, so it's, you know, got some sponginess to it, so when you're ironing, your seams sink into the surface, and you get a nice flat quilt block or seam or whatever. And in fact, I had it in the closet for a couple of years, and then I took it to retreat with me and that was the first thing I did when I got to retreat, because it was time to sit down and actually focus on sewing for myself. And so within a short period of time, we had tried it out and even had gotten fusibles stuck to it, and it peeled right up. So I was like, "Ooh, this is amazing." So fast forward 7 or 8 years, it's time for a new one. I ordered one when I was working at Poppins last summer, and it came in I think June or July or something like that. And it's been sitting here in the sewing room, right out in the open, for that much time. Now it's March, and I finally put it on my board, and I'm very happy. Anyway, I did have to trim off some pieces. So, you know, you could probably get, if you wanted to make your own Betty bands to try, you could put a little piece of elastic around the back of there. And if you've got smaller hands, you could probably get 4 bands out of this piece, and the other piece you could probably get quite a few more. So if you would like a couple pieces of this to make your own Betty bands, let me know, and I will put them in the box, and they're all yours. So, and what else? I have been knitting on my Pure Comfort cardigan. I've shown that quite a few times because I've been working on it since June. And there is, I've got a sleeve on. I need to do the cuff on the sleeve, the other sleeve, and then I need to do the shawl collar. So pretty excited about that. And this is my Volition cardigan, which I'm going to send to my mom because she said, "Oh, I would like a navy blue sweater." Anyway, the sleeves are all done, but I haven't woven in the ends yet and blocked it. And it's been sitting on the couch for a couple weeks now, and you know, kind of sit down and go against it, and it just picks up my hair, and it picks up threads off my clothes and that kind of thing. So it's probably navy blue cotton sweater is probably not the one for me. So thankfully it'll have a good home at Mom's house, and so that's awesome. And I've been knitting a little bit on a couple other things. One of the ladies at Quilting came to me and she said, "My mom's 90 and she can't see anymore, and she just needs the sock finished up and the edge put on this shawl." And I'm like, "Oh, of course I can do that, but I might not get to it for a little while." Well, guess what, Cheryl? I'm almost done. The socks are done. And so I got to try out one of those self-striping sock yarns that's very cool. And I'm going to go and buy some for myself. The Patton's Croy. They give you a little pattern in it. And the shawl, every time I sit down for a little tea break, I do a couple of bumps on the edge of the shawl, and that's awesome. So it'll get done sooner than later. Yay! And hopefully in 40 years when I can't see anymore, somebody will be kind enough to finish off all the things that I started. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. Anyway, hoping to get some stuff done before then. Now maybe we should talk about this quilt behind me. This is called Diamonds in the Deep, and it's a pattern from Bonjour Quilts, Bonjour Quilts. And, you know, with a French name, you would think that she would be from Quebec or France or Canadian with a little francophone background. But no, she's in Australia. So as odd as I thought that was, I ordered her pattern. They do have some at Poppins in stock right now. And I got going on it. And, you know, in her pattern, she wanted you to just sew it on and cut it off. And they're courthouse step kind of log cabin blocks. And I've tried that, and I've never had good success for it. So I took the pattern and I made up my own cutting list to cut all the pieces so that everything goes together very efficiently, very accurately. And I teach the class. So anyway, it's 2 fabrics, and you need a little bit more of the background fabric, which is the dark blue here, and then you do of the contrast fabric. But it was kind of fun to put together. So here the background fabrics are a little bit wider and the contrast are a little bit skinnier. And then as you work your way down, the contrast fabrics are wider and the background fabric is a little bit skinnier. So it's a fun quilt to do. The pattern has sizes from baby quilt, which this is the baby quilt size, which is still pretty big, like 54 by 45, and up to a king size quilt. And I made one for a wedding gift for my stepdaughter and her husband, queen size quilt, and I think I put it together. I think it took me like a week to put it together. And that was kind of trying to interpret and getting the cutting list made up and that kind of stuff too. So try to do it efficiently and accurately, and then all the blocks come out exactly the same size and it goes together really nice. And I was looking at, this is probably the 6th time I've tried to record this today. So in the other recording I was looking at, well, that doesn't match up right here. Doesn't look like it matches. Well, it actually does, because these blocks are a different size than these blocks. So it's the effect is very cool. Anyway, it's a lot of fun to do. And what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, I'm listening to right now a library book, audiobook called, it's the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. So last week I had book 4 and it was 41 hours and I finished it in like 6 days. So fortunately, I got book 5 right away from the library, and I'm about a third of the way through that in a couple days, so yay! And that's kind of fun. But other than that, I've been actually speaking on the phone, verbally talking to people, which is awesome. And, you know, I mean, in this day and age, I'll send a text because I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to interrupt them if they're making supper or whatever. I'll send a text or an email because then they can get to it when they get to it, and it's more convenient. They don't have to stop and talk to me for 5 minutes or whatever. And you know what, this week? I just been phoning everybody. And it's very cool because when you know you can't have that face-to-face in person, you get that little bit of connection with the phones and the verbal, and you know, I'm okay because I mean there's 2 of us here, so we do talk occasionally. I do get a hug every day, which is awesome. And but I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she's like, you know, it's really quite a thing because I'm on my own. You know, I had somebody come and visit the other day to drop off groceries for a second, and you know, I had to stay so far apart, and you couldn't even give them a hug, and it's just so anyway, call. If you're thinking about somebody, phone them. If you I mean, we have the capability of doing video calls. I video called with my uncle in Ontario a couple times so far, and been calling my mom and keeping in touch with my daughter, and you know, for a while now, Mary and I text pretty much every day, just to see how you doing, what are you doing today, and blah blah blah. and Mary just lives up the hill. And Mary has a very common last name. So the other day I got the text came through and I just looked and I saw M-A-R with the last name, and I was just like, oh, Mary, it's Mary. And I'm like, oh yeah, ribs are cooking for dinner. And she's like, oh, well, that's great. I love ribs. And then I thought, well, that's a funny response for Mary to have. And so I looked at it and it was Margot, the same last name. So, and she's just like, I haven't connected with you for a while. So I thought, well, I don't know, gosh, Margot's going to think I'm some kind of nut. And I think, Margot has known me since I'm 13 years old, since we were both 13. And she knows. It's just Debra, paying as much attention as she does. So anyway, it's Margot's birthday on Monday. So happy birthday, Margot. And I just see texts coming from you now on my phone while I'm recording. So I'll get to take a look at that. And it's been awesome connecting even on Facebook. I mean, I've been trying to put out a positive something every couple days, and the responses are awesome. So let's keep it up. And when this is all done, we'll all get together and have coffee or a glass of wine or Dragonade, and woohoo, yay us, we can do this. So happy knitting, happy quilting, happy sewcilation, they're calling it, S-E-W, isolation, but S-E-W instead of I-S-O, I think, I don't know. And quiltantine instead of quarantine, and they all say all the things that come over Facebook. Hey, quilters, knitters, we've been training for this for so long. And, truthfully, I'm okay with it. And I'm hoping that you're okay with it too. And it's all working out all right. So, if you want to talk to somebody, you can phone me. I'm here. I'm answering my phone. Talking. And, so happy knitting, happy quilting, and take care of each other and take care of yourself. Very important. So we'll talk to you all soon.